Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 27th episode of Book of Hours, playing House of Light as the archaeologist. Now, I feel like I've been saying this a little more often than I would like, but I have been really running into a lot of trouble getting everything done at the time that I want. I had some travel for work last week, and so I'm back to recording episodes at the last possible minute, and what I tend to find happens there is that has these cascading effects to the week. So the way that I'm going to try and get this balanced out, so for this week specifically, I'm going to record what I can today. It may even just be the one episode, and then I'll try and catch up on Tuesday. But I figure that it's always not a bad idea to announce that ahead of time, just in case something happens. Either there's a problem uploading or I can't get to all of them. And I am going to entertain the possibility of taking a small break during this series. It's not something that I normally do, but I'm just trying to think when I'm going to have an opportunity to have some time to catch up on everything that's kind of keeping me from getting these videos done. And I know really the only holiday coming up would be Christmas, and Christmas is something that I do a stream for. So that's it. I hope to try and keep the meta stuff to a minimum, especially because I realize that half an hour is not that long for me to be able to stream a game. But let's focus on this session for now, and then if I guess in the worst case scenario, I can try and do some sort of an announcement if I think I'm gonna change the plans. Now, I have gotten into the habit of writing myself some to-do lists. Let's see if that carries over for this session. It doesn't look like I have. Okay, so I have a few options ahead of me. It's spring, so I can do salons in the Practic Garden. Physic Garden. Physic Garden's here, Practic Garden's here. And I think I'm inclined to. The question is, who do I invite? I didn't actually make any notes along those lines for this one. Now, we don't need to worry too much in this case. Actually, I can't remember who was invited. Was it Schaller? Yeah. Okay. And I actually don't remember what I was going to use the Edict's Liminal for. So, I mean, I guess the easy answer here is that we have enough time in the day. Like, I don't have anything else to do, so let's, okay, we're already dreaming on the memory. Okay, so let's see we'll see what happens in the morning. So yeah, step number one, it would be nice to prepare for some kind of a salon, if I can. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. We've got Stolen Histories, the Agitator and Pamphleteer Alexander Sparrow inveighs against the monstrous serpents, thieves of history. So that seems pretty straightforward for us to get into the collection. And I also don't believe we have Coil and Chasm yet, so... although Hill and Hollow doesn't give me that much scale. So yeah, Pentiments and Precursors and the Hourglass would be the best. I keep forgetting this isn't my Twitch playthrough, so I have fewer elements of the soul, but... Okay, so we're already starting to get some ideas in terms of how the day might go. So Stolen Histories is a simple one for me to get another skill with. Making some inks wouldn't hurt either. We can do that with Heart now, I believe. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. Okay, and then there's the question in terms of what we do with Edict Liminal. So we've already got... Well, presumably at this point I would just level up the Edict's Liminal. I could use the Occult Scrap if it came down to it, but that doesn't seem to be the best use. Maybe if we get a cloudy day, we can use it there. Now the question would be, do I want to bring in any anyone from the village. So I think Denzel is my sort of my friend slash regular contact. Oh yes, we're also opening the collapsed cellar, so that may have some bearing. Maybe let's, it's not always the most efficient use of the day, but in this case I'm just going to let it run by and see what the weather brings. Okay, cloudy day, so we'll level up Edict's Liminal. The Earth Cellar. In the time of the Abbey, this was a shrine to St. Lucia the Eyeless. Since the heresies of the Intercalate, the Church of the Unconquered Sun considers her an aspect of the hour called Menascate. But back then, she was just a patron saint of stained glass workers and eye doctors. The tree in Earl Bryan's field outside was traditionally hung with stained glass ornaments on St. Lucia's Day. Since the dissolution of the Abbey, though, it's mostly been vegetables in here. So with that in mind, we've got a basket of vegetables, a basket of onions, another basket of vegetables, and a basket of leeks. We have access to the mist-sunk meadow now. There's grass beneath my feet and a mingle of wildflower scents, but above all, the damp salt vapors of a thick sea fog. Somewhere in that fog, I think I hear a distant bell, far away, as if it were beneath the sea. Perhaps this can be blown away, perhaps sung away, if I bring the right powers and the right assistance. Okay. So we have a little bit of an idea of what the day is going to look like now. So first step is a very simple level up. And I think Trist works in this one. So there is always more to learn. Improve the skill to level 2. This will increase its aspects, which will help with crafting and make it suitable for higher branches in the Tree of Wisdoms. So the way I was going to read the book that gives us Coil and Chasm is to use pentiments and precursors. So this would mean I would want a desk which allows for Grail. And actually this one works pretty well. Maybe we'll say... Because the Orchid Transfigurations doesn't take a whole lot either. And I don't think we have... Resurgences and Emergences yet. So if we took Desires and Dissolutions, we took the Arab, which would bring us up to 6, then we just need the Satisfaction and we're good to go. So let's use the Trist for a start. Pentiments and Precursors, which we will then add the Hourglass to. This gives me secret histories. I can master this mystery. And because I'm going to be pursuing new lessons, I'm going to take the Orchid Transfigurations a birth. We will find... yes, actually, if I recall correctly, there was a really common one that I didn't have, at least in terms of the library. So it's all well and good for me to say that I'll get the Satisfaction, but I actually need somebody to generate that for me. Okay, so that's fine because it still gives me something to do. In this case, I'm debating as to whether or not I should use the core for this. It denies me the... Okay, I will use the core. Speak with Denzel. I'm always welcome at Denzel's smithy. Denzel rarely works for free, but he won't take payment for helping a friend. Okay, so I'm going to take a couple pitchers of water, lower the bucket creaking into the dark. So this is me. I'm basically trying to make it so that in the next period I'll be able to renew elements of the soul using water. Okay. So at this point, let's say I'm keeping the Arab in reserve on the hope that we're going to be able to read the Orchid Transfigurations of Birth. So technically I've got Shapt, Trist, and Metal to work with. So I think while I'm at it, we'll still earn a bit of money at the Sweet Bones with the Shapt. But the next question here would be, okay, so given what we know... is there something that I can do over the course of the day that will, push my main interests forward? So one of the things that I could do would be to try and cure some of these curses. These are all fairly high-level books. Keonid Abydos and Locksmith's Dream, maybe not so, though. So, contaminations. Let's maybe see if we've got a book that's good against contaminations. I only really deal with contaminations and such. I only kind of deal with them every once in a while, so I need to actually need to sort of think about the right way to handle these. So this one needs Forge. Forge and Heart. Okay. So Quenchings and Quellings is the path for at least one of these. I think the Forge I'm just going to have to do it the hard way. So yeah, Quenchings and Quellings is a little bit of a priority to level up if I can. But how I do that is a whole other question. Okay, we'll leave that aside and we'll talk with Denzel in hopes that maybe we wind up with the appropriate memory. Let's keep cataloging books. And then again, I'm going to need 5 different inks, so I'll just double check the plan. So I think it went... I can never remember which one gives me the... I think it definitely wasn't Edicts Martial, and I think Desires and Dissolutions, yeah, that gives me a Midnight Mark. Edicts Inviolable gives me Catwink. Ah, I see. Okay, so yes, we're no longer limited to... We're no longer limited to memories for that. And Catwink's pretty helpful with the group of people who I might invite, so I'd say overall that's pretty good. All right, so the rest of the day's plan. I'll keep earning a little bit of money. We will make the we'll make the ink for the invites, and then we'll think about who we need to invite. And of course, who we invite's also going to be determined by what we can make. Now, I guess if I'm going to be going down that path, I might also want to be considering what I can actually, like what foods I can actually make, because I'll need 3 days if I want to order something. But we're still at the start of spring, so I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. All right, how encouraging. You satisfied your visitor and earned a reward, but the more they learn, the harder they'll be to satisfy in the future. Oh, for some reason I thought I didn't have Father... I thought I had Father Stanislav already in the group. Okay, so I guess if I want, I've got a free knock to work with the occult scrap. I do actually want to add these to my book. Don't really have a use for it right now, though. The blacksmith's assistant. Denzel the blacksmith will lend me his strength for the day. Speak to Denzel, he might even reply. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about bringing Denzel up to a level to work with the Windprowled Gallery. I'm not opposed to doing that, but actually, let's... I'll at least work out a game plan, but this one I think is pretty straightforward. So, Denzel... So, memory... 2 brings us up to 4. Metal brings us up to 6. Tool brings us up to 7. And a drink brings us up to 9. So it looks like there isn't a way for me to do that without either a more powerful memory than I have been using lately, or I'll have to use some sort of drink. And usually the answer for the drink would be the Veiled Goddess Lapsang Suchong, which of course means I don't need to use the tool. Now, I do kind of have the option available to me. If I wanted, I could try and renew the metal. I don't hate that idea, actually. So if I... That's a revelation. Yeah, so I'll use my Shapt. We'll read Vinzant's Minglings. I'll renew the medal at the Sweet Bones, and then one of two things will happen. Either Denzel gives me satisfaction, in which case we can use the Arab to read the appropriate book, or we can use the Arab to catalog another book. So here we've got the Tripled Heart, sacred poems composed in honor of the hours venerated by the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot. We don't always see Kernwek Hanevek in... I feel like that's one of the rarer languages to see the books in, but for us it just means we can't read anything. Right. And again, the aim right now is just to get a bunch of these to level 2 so that I can commit them to the Tree of Wisdoms. He does a lot with silence, this man. Alright, so Stolen Secret. Theoretically, we can use that to level up certain things. Oh, you know what? If I was going to buff Denzel, I should probably get that done sooner rather than later. That's fine. So I will restore the Shapt at some point for more money. But as I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. For now, though, I do know that I'm going to use this medal with Denzel to make him open up the room. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. And there's the cat wink. So ideally, I will do more than just one cat wink a day, but I at least have this nice sort of steady drumbeat of cat wink that's coming in. And I think it's 4. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He does a lot with silence, this man. Alright, scale. Potentially interesting, but Vinzant's Minglings. The metallurgist and skysmith Everett Vinzant speaks of the sacred alloys, the alloys eternal, the alloys sufficient, and the alloys intendant. Everett describes the voices and powers of mortals and immortals based on their composition by analogy to the sounds and strengths of bells based on the metals of their casting. Vinzant warns that mingling the metals of too great a nobility can produce the alloys incestuous. He suggests very cautiously that the means used by the sovereigns of the Leashed Flame to produce their heirs may have analogous issues. For though the crime of the sky might be circumvented, the law remaineth the law, in spirit as in letter. Alright, so I have all the parts that I need to get the to move Denzel up, but I've been reflexively just adding him to the talk slot. Alright, so little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. So again, we're currently waiting with the Arab just to see if we can make something work with the Orchid Transfigurations of Birth. If not, then we'll just turn that into an opportunity to catalog another book. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. And while we do that, I will pour out the tea. Serve appropriately, pour out. Pour it out. Oop. don't remember if it's the Sweet Bones or Denzel that will finish first. Sweet Bones. All right. Better now. So we're going to go back with that Shapt, at least make a little bit of money, and then possibly catalog a book with that. We'll see. Stolen Histories. The agitator and pamphleteer Alexander Sparrow inveighs against the monstrous serpents, thieves of history. Sparrow acknowledges 5 histories, insists the 3rd history may be overrun by coils, and warns the 5th history is already lost. Sparrow, with his usual paranoia, appears to be conflating the horror of the Worm Wars and the Great Writhing with the activities of the Great Hooded Princes. Still, he draws thought-provoking comparisons between the princes, normally conceived as exotic knocklong, and the widely feared worms. So, fear, obviously, that's replaced the old one that we had, and we have a Coil and Chasm lesson. So, if I had an existing Coil and Chasm, this would be helpful to bring it up to level 2, but right now we just add it and move on. So, but I forgot where I put all my other fear stuff. We're already kind of running out of space on this, but there's no rule saying that I have to keep them on the shelf that I originally put them. Okay, so the metal will head to Denzel. We're bringing back the Shapt, probably just to turn that into a 6-pence, and we're learning Coil and Chasm. So not a terrible day. It would be nice if I had a little bit more done Salon-wise, but memories don't last long outside books, but it's made the difference for the day. So my guess here is the Arab's going to go to cataloging the book, but we'll see. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. Coil and Chasm. Worms, 7 coils, dangerous places, how earthquakes are bound, and why they are released. Our course is fixed. Alright, so we'll give him a cup of tea, and then we'll talk with him for the rest of the day. An ice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. Better now. Alright, so this one's always a little tricky for me to decide. In one sense, I can say we can use the Shapt here and earn... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna restore 1 more Shapt here. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. What I'm gonna do here is I'm restoring that one so that I can earn the money to... I can basically earn a 6-pence back, but for this particular one, I'm actually going to catalog another book. We'll take one of these baronial period books. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly the 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. So the net effect of this is just I'm still up the money. But I also get the actions of my Elements of the Soul, which is exactly what I was looking to do. So, speak to Denzel, he might even reply. Alright, the Journal of Walter de Wolf. Walter de Wolf, 3rd Baron Brandkrug, was the grandson of Thomas, son of the disgraced Giles, who eloped with Pale Haffren. The de Wolf line might have ended there if Seneschal Ernestine, by then over 80, had not managed to reconcile Thomas with the dying Giles. So, we now have a hint on Walter. Oh, that's Musgrave. Did we already put Walter down? Perhaps we don't have him. Yep, I'm willing to guess I forgot which busts I have. All right, we'll give Denzel one more shot. Really, at this point, we would be saving that satisfaction to take into the next day, and the heart would allow us, but I'm not expecting miracles. Fixing and mending. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And it's only 20 seconds with Denzel, and it doesn't take that long to catalog a book, so I'll wait till the end of the day just so I can make a clear decision. But I think in this case we'll take the Arab to catalog the last of the baronial period books. Okay. Intuition's unexpected, but still. He does a lot with Silence This Man. So we could still keep talking with him. At this point, though, I think it makes as much sense for us to catalog, which we'll do here. And then we'll take care of the Windprowled Gallery. This has long been a holy place, but the rites have gone too long unperformed. The windows are shattered, and only the wind walks here now. So 3 more catwink for the salon. We'll probably have to make at least one other one, depending on the invitations I want to write. Excuse me. But other than that, probably wouldn't hurt to think about the next guests and what kind of food they'll want. It is written, Musgrave, 4th of the Dewolf line, writes tentatively about the Covenant of Brandkrug and the legacy of the sacred inks he calls Incausta Potentialia. So now we know where to put Musgrave. I'm trying to think whether or not we have what it takes to get this one in. So we do have our pentiments and precursors, and we can take that up to 5 with the scale and the hourglass. So if that's true, I can use a memory to get that up to 7, which means I could then use Catwink instead of the hourglass to be able to get this read. There are maybe other paths that I would want to take, but yes, if we want, we can add It Is Written to the list, and I don't believe we have Inks of Power yet, so that would potentially be helpful for a number of reasons. All right, decent day's work. So I think for tomorrow, I'm going to use the metal to catalog one of the solar period books. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So at least one of the... We'll use the metal to catalog the solar. We'll use at least one of the tryst to make the catwink, but honestly, if I put all of my tryst towards catwink, I'm not unhappy with that. Gideon DeWolf, the bust is terracotta, brightly painted. So we actually kind of know this through process of elimination, and of course we've played this before, but if Musgrave was the 4th, this would mean Gideon. Actually, I think that might be mentioned here. Hendrik de Wolf evicted the family of the healer Natan from the Barber's Tower, as it was then called. I have rooted out the Barber's brood, he is reported to have gloated. But his great-great-grandson Gideon, the motley baron, for his brindled hair, restored the tower and made it a place of healing again. Of course, the equipment in this room dates from the current century, but Gideon's other nickname was the Cutter. It was rumored that he brought corpses for dissection, even that he was a vivisectionist. The latter was probably a slander, but one way or another, scholars have been cutting up corpses in here for a very long time. All right, so just as a recap, so first librarian of the Curia of the Isle, which means that we're not dealing with any of the Dewolfs. I can't recall if this was mentioned or not, but this would be Thomas. So we know this is Walter. And so fifth, who was feared more than he merited. We can also get the details from inferring the description. But one way or the other, Gideon belongs in the slot. So now we're just waiting for the actual objects. All right, the Windlit Gallery. In the days of the Brethren, every day of this gallery would ring with the liturgy of the hours. In the times of the DeWolfs and of the Curia, there were services here every Sunday. All those times are long gone. This is a house of echoes now. So Ava's locks here are kind of nice. We'll be able to make Solomon's preparation out of that over time. Driftwood fragment. Long ago, there was a forest between the waves of Brankrug Bay. This driftwood is not nearly that old, but it's shared salt with its lost forerunners. We have a curious seashell. Brankrug is said to lie in the bounds where the world ends. Odd creatures have made their dying way to the beach. A yew blank, a wood sacred to the Malachite, who is also called the ring yew, but also the tree that the dead pass in the dark. The HMS Carisham, a fourth-rate ship of the line, captained by Sebastian de Wolf in the Battle of Kyburn Bay, lost with all hands. A Windlit workbench, labor quietly, forge, lantern, heart, and knock, and it'll accept basically any of the material. I'll just say materials, and hopefully that'll be clear what I mean by that. We can open up a crate of supplies, and then we have 3 solar period books. Also a carpenter's stool. Irreparably wobbly, perhaps it's haunted. All right. I'm just going to move these to the bedroom, so I have a sort of a centralized place to check them all. So certainly no shortage of things to do with my metal for the foreseeable future. Now, this is a very easy one for me to open, the Shrouded Stair with Denzel. The Veiled Chamber is a little bit more of a question mark because we don't have Whist yet. Likewise with the Echoing Chamber and the Ill-Omened Tower, I think we can do. So we can basically do the Ill-Omened Tower the same way that we did the Windlit Gallery. The only difference is that we would add the spanners at the end. So I think our intermediate, I think probably it doesn't hurt to just sort of have some milestones for us to hit. So I think we don't really have much, maybe the Serpent Haunted Bedroom, because we have access to the miner, which would give us the scale that we need. So a miner, heart would give us 2 scale, fear would give us 4. So where would the other 2 come from? Well, one would come from a tool, and then at that point I just need either a drink or food with scale, and we know we have a wine that gives scale, the Schloss Jannings. Okay. Yeah, so if I need the Serpent Haunted Bedroom is an option. And we should be able to get this one too, the Shadowed Stair. Okay, so 2 parts of the church using Denzel, and then we'll use the miner to help us open up the Serpent Haunted Bedroom. I think that will be the way that I sort of pass the days while waiting for the right combination of weather and such. But all of that can be handled tomorrow. I'm trying to think if it makes... Well, first of all, I couldn't keep the fear. Just trying to think if it makes sense to keep anything other than the storm. I think we'll just hang on to the storm there. So... yes, again, I spent a little bit of time talking about the stream overall, or the broadcast overall, and I know I wasn't 100% here tonight, so I'm sorry for a little bit more of a quiet episode, but still a little bit of progress nonetheless. So all of those ideas that I just talked about, I'll try and write a couple of notes for myself just so I don't lose too much. But I'm going to try and implement that over the course of the week, in addition to opening up the various rooms, which aren't as important because we have a bunch of different books that we can read and catalog. I definitely have an intention of getting the inks prepared reasonably soon, and essentially, I think probably by tomorrow I'd like to think about what guests do I want to bring, and what kinds of food I need to order if I don't have what's required. But all of that will be handled in the coming week. No episode on Tuesday. In fact, I will probably be recording the next ones on Tuesday, so I will hopefully see you all Wednesday. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.